Alex, thanks for joining us. Your assessment of how the result finished off for you?
We found out what it feels like to lose a game of football at home. It's horrible, not nice. First off, I thought we were very good. I thought we should have been more than 1-0 to the good going into half time. Missed some good opportunities, and we're hurting them down the sides, particularly down their left, our right. And we've been in this position before, haven't we? Plenty of times. Leading games going into the second half. We've experienced it here in every game that we've played. And we're really poor in the second half, really poor. And it's something we've got to fix. Believe it or not, we do not tell our players to go and sit back and defend a lead in the second half. We don't. Absolutely not. That's not the way that we're wired. That's not the way we're brought up. But it seems to be happening, and we've got to find trends and patterns to see why it keeps happening. Whether it's a mentality thing just to survive and try and find a way to keep what we've got, I don't know. We've got to look into it and we've got to fix it. That's my job, to fix it, because it can't keep happening, because we've dropped essentially 5 points from winning positions in the last 2 home games, and points are really, really precious in this league. They're so hard to come by, and you have to make sure that you keep them. And the best way to keep them has been on the front foot and extending your lead, and we weren't able to do that in the second half.
And another big disappointment would be the way you conceded goals. They all seemed scrappy type of goals that they scored.
We knew exactly what they were, and we stood up to it excellently in the first half, and we didn't in the second half. We said there were 2 ways that you were going to lose the game, and it could only be through ill discipline or individual mistakes, and both goals were a mixture of ill discipline and an individual mistake with the second goal. And what was disappointing more than anything else was, yes, we've gone 2-1 down, but it's not the end of the world. You've got 25 minutes of football to try and work yourselves back into the game, and we never built up any pressure. And I know that's difficult. These are the worst team that you could possibly come up against in terms of trying to build pressure against when they're defending a lead, because you're seeing how they were managing to kill time and take the sting out of the game. But that's up to us to solve, and we didn't build any pressure in and around the box in terms of opportunities and recycling the ball when it did get cleared. It was up there, sort of a half chance, then they clear it, free kick given, game's dead. Then that repeated for the remainder of the game, and we were so naive in terms of the amount of fouls that we gave away, because for every foul you give away there's another minute gone. And it's just little things like that that we've got to learn, and learn quick, because if we're going to accumulate the amount of points that we want to and need to this season, those sort of scenarios are going to play out again. So we were naive all round in terms of trying to get ourselves back into the game once we'd fallen behind.
It didn't help either, did it? Because you have to be careful what you say. You didn't know which way the referee was going to go. It could have been some red cards out on that pitch. He was desperate to possibly make big calls, and you have to be careful what you say, but it didn't help the game. No, not going to criticise the ref at all, though. That loss is on me. I said that after Salford. We lose games of football, it's on me. When we win games of football, the players deserve the plaudits. So I've got to find a way with the coaching staff to make sure that those games look different when we're in winning positions, and different when we're in losing positions and chasing games, because the first half was very pleasing, the second half, for all sorts of reasons, wasn't. So it's for me to fix, because ultimately I've got to win games of football. Win games of football, everyone's happy. If I lose too many games of football, I get the sack. I know where I'm at, and that's where we're at. I suppose in a way, positive-wise, you got in on their goal quite a lot of times. The disappointment in that was possibly the wrong options were taken by most of your forward players. We got into some, that's exactly what I said in the changing room. We got into some good positions, nowhere near enough, but some good positions outside the lines of the 18-yard box to try and hurt them with overloads and 1v1s. We had loads and loads of joy at getting the ball to Daniel Aggie on the right-hand side of the pitch in that second half. But the outcomes were all too often disappointing. We didn't test the goalkeeper, we didn't miss the first man, we were clipping it into the goalkeeper's hands, we were coming back out to allow them to then regain their numbers behind the ball. So yeah, loads and loads to work on, loads and loads to be disappointed about. But look, there's absolutely no point in everyone getting hysterical. We've lost a game of football. We know where we're at. I've said it to you before, there was so much doom and gloom in terms of coming into the season with regard to where this team's at. I don't know where we currently sit. 10th, I don't know. So we're in a position where we've got a platform and a foundation to build.
there are going to be days like that, unfortunately. I hope they're few and far between. But with Crewe Alexandra, we're going to lose some games of football. And that doesn't make it excusable. I'm as disappointed as everyone, because 4,000 people, or however many have come today, have gone home unhappy, and we've not given them what they wanted in the second half. But we move on, and we've got obviously a free week to work into Grimsby.
Yeah, just briefly, what's your free week going to consist of with your players, and what do you want to get into them?
Well, some players will play in the under-23 game tomorrow against QPR, so those that have not had the football that they need will play in that. Not tomorrow, sorry, on Monday. And then we get back to work for the remainder of the week in terms of coming up with solutions to the problems that we weren't able to solve today.
Do you think you've got many problems?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think we've got some obvious problems, but I think lots of the problems and worries that many people had going into the season, we've dispelled. It's quite clear that we're struggling to affect games from the bench. Obviously, that'll be helped by the return of Rio Adebisi, Lachlan Brook, Kelvin Mellor. So then the depth on your bench helps you enormously. A change higher could have been Tariq being somewhere off that front position today, but obviously he was fulfilling the right back role. And there's problems to fix in terms of second half performances. I would imagine our first half performances, if there was a half-time league table, would be probably the best in the whole EFL. In fact, I think it is from what we've been told. But our second half performances would be anything but that in terms of where we would stand statistically. So it's a problem to solve. As I say, we don't go and tell our players to be on the back foot in the second half of games to defend leads. It's not the way that we've been brought up. But the mentality at the minute is to survive rather than thrive in that second half of games. And we'll fix it. People have got to stick with us. We know what the problems are. I think everybody in those stands listening to this would be worried if we didn't know what the problems are. We do. Trust me, we do. And I've got to fix it. And if I don't fix it quick enough, then I know the consequences. So, you know, we know where we're at, and there's plenty to be positive about moving into these next phases of games.